Hall of Fame broadcaster Marty Brenneman here, and he's the best storyteller in the game, and it's time to sit back, relax, and have some laughs. Welcome to the Mayor's Office, and here's your host, Sean Casey.
Boom, Chich. What's up, dude? How we doing, brother?
Good. We're making a call, right? Making a call to the pen today?
Call to the pen, bro. Call to the pen. And Chich, man, I don't know. It gets better and better every week. But when you bring a good buddy of yours on, a guy that I was like, I got to bring this guy on because every time I talk to him on the phone, all we do is laugh for like an hour. We don't get anything accomplished because we're just laughing. So, but before we get to who this is, this guy has a podcast called Get in the Game. I've been on it. I think I've been on it twice. Great podcast because this guy's such a good dude. 12 years in the show. 42-31 record with a 3.51 ERA. Had some monster years. Drafted by the Giants, traded to the Astros, then traded to the Padres, where we'll go over that a little bit, but some domination. You know, under sub 2 ERA, just fueling people. Loved it when Petco came. You know, all that stuff. Traded to the Brewers in 2007. Was with the White Sox in 2008 to 2010. Finished with the Braves, the Cardinals a little bit. But one of the most important things this guy's doing right now is what he's been doing since he retired. He's the stewardship coordinator at Water Mission, and I'm going to let him tell us about that. But let's bring him in. He's one of the best dudes you'll ever meet. My friend, good buddy, Scott Linebrink. Scotty, what's up, brother? What's up, Lonnie?
What's happening, Case? How you doing, buddy?
Good, man. How's everything going, dude? What's going on?
It's good, man. It's good. I'll tell you what, when you went through that rap sheet, I just got tired. You know, I mean, you played a lot of places too, and I think about all of like the trades and like, you know, trying to find an apartment somewhere, and then, you know, injuries and trying to get your family across country. That just makes me tired.
Dude, it is true though, right? Nobody thinks about that when you get traded. And when I remember I got traded to the Tigers at the deadline in 2006. We were just closing on a house that day in Pittsburgh. I got 3 little kids, and I had to tell my wife at the time, like, hey, listen, I got to get to Tampa. Can you close on the house by yourself? And are you guys can you find us an apartment in Detroit? And can you, like, oh man, it's mayhem for everybody, dude. You know, it's mayhem for everybody.
Yeah, everybody thought that being a pro athlete was just all about the glamour and riding around on PJs, you know, and going on vacations.
It's so true, dude. It's so true.
Nobody told us about that part.
Exactly. Hey, before we get going on all the awesome baseball stuff, because there's some awesomeness here, I want to talk a little bit about Water Mission and what you're doing and all about that. I've given some money to you guys because you're what you guys are doing and your mission is phenomenal. Can you just talk about that a little bit? And also, how can our listeners get involved in what you're doing?
You bet, Case. And I want to say thank you because your investment's having huge impact. And, you know, it's something that I got introduced to right after baseball. You and I both know guys that maybe didn't transition well out of the game. I felt like I was looking for an exit strategy of how to get out of the game. But I realized that when that day finally came, you look around and you think, man, I've been doing this for the last 15 years of my life. Been playing baseball my whole life. I feel like a lot of my identity is wrapped up in me as a baseball player. But now what? You know, I'm still a relatively young guy. I wasn't even 40 yet. So I was really grateful, you know, to be introduced to this organization. It started with a trip to Haiti. We went down there. I know you've been to Haiti.
Was that with Brad? Was that with Brad Henderson?
Was with Brad.
PKF?
Yep.
Oh, bro, come on, man.
I know.
Awesome.
So Brad
life-changing trip.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I had been to Honduras. My wife had been on a trip to Brazil. So we thought we had seen what poverty looked like. But I'll tell you what, it's a different ballgame going down there to Haiti and just seeing, you know, the depravity, the way people are suffering. And a lot of it is just basic needs. I mean, it's food, shelter, water. And water, of course, was kind of the topic of this trip. But we went down there and just saw, one, communities without water, and then what a difference it makes when they have water. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, it's the greatest before and after project that can happen for a community with nothing. You bring in water, and then sanitation is the other piece. And not to say that solves all the problems, but man, it gives them a leg up. And then it helps every other initiative after that. So that's what I loved about it, is how it was so foundational. You know, we fixed the water system and we give them toilets. And now we can talk about, you know, medical. We can talk about economic benefits. We can talk about educational opportunities. There's just so many things that happen after that. So Yeah.
What was incredible too, even talking to Brad, he was saying the water system that you guys put in down there, can you tell me how many people, like if you put in a water system, how many people, thousands, it serves communities of people, right?
Yeah. So a lot of these, I'm sure people listening, a lot of people have been to third world countries, and maybe you go to the larger cities and you think, well, it's not that bad. I mean,
yeah.
But the real issue is when you get to these small rural communities. And so that's largely where we're operating, is places of like 1,000, 2,000 people. They don't have any kind of major infrastructure that the cities have. They basically just have shallow wells. And so when we can come in there and we can put in a well, we can put in treatment equipment, can put in a distribution plan. We train them and teach them how to use water, how to live lives of hygiene. It makes such a difference. And I mean, to think that these projects can happen in a matter of months, and then it literally sets them on a totally different trajectory. I mean, it's to think that generations have passed without people having access to safe water, and now all of a sudden they have it. And now moving forward, like, it's truly, I mean, to use a pun, a watershed moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's crazy that it's 2022 and you're talking about toilets. I mean, like, right. I mean, a lot of the people in Haiti have to go out back and dig a hole to go to the bathroom. You know what I mean? The fact that you could have a toilet, running water, and I think the other thing too is the sanitation, right? Like, people get sick, from some of the bacteria in the waters. If right. You really got to go to the well to get in to do anything.
Yeah. Waterborne illness is the number one cause of death for kids under 5. I mean, it's amazing. It's staggering. We don't have any water related deaths in the United States or the developed world. Like, we solved our water problem 100 years ago. The last cholera outbreak was in the early 1900s. It was actually in New York. So, I mean, we figured this thing out. There is a solution. Water Mission is now just taking that solution for countries that are 100 years behind the game. And we're like, hey man, I mean, we're not trying to cure cancer. Like, we're just using a solution that has already worked in other places. We want to take it everywhere.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing, man. That's absolutely amazing. Unbelievable. I know Berkey, Lance Berkman's been involved. I know Adam Wainwright's been involved. A lot of good people have been involved, have your back. Dude, I'll always be giving you money. I love what you guys are doing. How can our listeners get involved? How can our listeners, how can they get involved in helping you guys out? Because it is such an unbelievable program.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Case. Watermission.org is the website. It's pretty easy. You can go there. You can find out a lot of information. We do a lot of work in disaster response. So not just these places that, it's a disaster every day, but places like Ukraine right now. We've done a bunch of work in Ukraine in providing water in places where the Russians were deliberately taking out water mains of major cities to try to, basically force people into surrendering. So we're going in and we're putting in water treatment systems in hospitals, in train stations, in places where people can go and get water. So anytime there's a disaster, there's a good chance that we're going to be responding. But yeah, go check us out. It's a great way to give. It's a great way to have an immediate impact. There's opportunities to go into the field like I did and see it firsthand. Opportunities to share on social media. One of the biggest things I tell all of our guys is, man, the best thing that you can do for us is tell somebody else about us. That social, impact, social media, just the awareness aspect is so huge.
That's awesome. All right. Well, we will spread the word, Liney. And like I said, man, fired up to see what you're doing, and because it's great stuff, man. It's impact. Yeah, man. It's directly impacting lives. Lives, man. Awesome. So let's talk a little baseball, brother. Let's do it, man. Let's do it. 12 years in the big leagues. I went back and looked at your numbers. Obviously, face you were nasty boys. I already know that. But when you go back to Houston, your time with Houston. Now I know you and Berkey are good buddies. Did you guys come up in the minor leagues together?
So Berkman and I go way back.
Do you?
We go all the way. Yeah, we go back to college. Well, we're both from Texas. So he actually grew up in the Austin area. He was better than me when we were like, high school or even before high school. I was one of those kids that was a late bloomer. So I wasn't on the select teams. I didn't, I didn't have a college scholarship waiting for me. I kind of snuck in the back door. when you say that I got 12 years in the big leagues, I'm almost just, embarrassed. I mean, you look at where I started, and I mean, there was no reason this kid who couldn't even make his high school team would have made a big league team. So truly a blessing. And I don't take a whole lot of credit for it. It was one of those miraculous happenings. But yeah, so Berkman, we actually first crossed paths in college, and he was going to Rice. I was going to Southwest Texas. Now Texas State, also the school of Paul Goldschmidt. So,
okay, there you go.
That's where Goldie went. But now
you're getting some pub with Goldie dominating the way he is.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Texas State.
Yeah, and Texas State actually lost to Stanford this year. I thought we were headed to Omaha. So it was,
wow.
Yeah, they're really doing a lot to get on the national radar. But Berkey and I, we faced each other back then. You talk about a scary guy to face with an aluminum bat. Holy cow.
Bro!
I mean, he was scary with a wood bat, but he almost killed my first baseman one time. It was just a reaction, like trying to get out of the way of it. He somehow caught it. But so we played against each other in college. We both got drafted the same year. We both ended up. He got drafted by Houston. I got drafted by the Giants. But we both ended up our first full season. We went straight to AA, and we were both playing in the Texas League, duking it out. I was playing for the Shreveport Captains. He was with the Jackson Generals. Wow. And so, I mean, the minor leagues, how it works. I mean, some of these teams that are in your division, like you got to face guys 30 times a year.
Right.
And so I don't know. There was something, though, I was able to figure him out because he'll tell you that, he was a sucker for the high cheese. Yeah. And so all I had to do was throw that high riding fastball and get him to foul off a couple, and then I could throw one way high, like over his head. He tried to swing at it. Yeah. So,
that's great. Yeah. That's so great. So, Liney, you were starting in the minors though back in the day. I mean, your most of your big league career was at the Pen, but you started in the minors. Yeah, I started in the minors and then had a shoulder injury at the end of that first full season, and then they put me in the Pen to save innings, and that's how I broke into the big leagues. I did have a handful of starts with the Astros, but yeah, most of the time was spent coming in, 6th, 7th, 8th innings, high leverage situations, setting up for those guys that were coming in at the back end. So speaking of the minor leagues, Tony Pena was your manager, I believe, at one point. You got any good Tony Pena stories? Oh, man, yeah. Tony Pena, what a character. You were around him, Case, so he was a little difficult to understand. Like he's a Latin guy, probably mixing in a little Spanglish in there. Right. So Pena, he was a real excitable. He always had these,
crazy ideas. Scott Service was on that team that year too, and Scott Service.
So the Mariners the manager of the Mariners, right?
And he was catching back then, and he was like the guy that would like rein Tony in a little bit. So Tony would get these crazy ideas. Scott was like the one, no, that'll never work. Like, here's what we're gonna do. So we had a really good team that year. I think it was only because we had Scott Service to kind of keep his thumb on the pulse. But Pena, man, this one time we were playing up in Portland, up in the Northwest. And it was, an away game, of course. We're traveling. So we get in this tie ball game, and I come in the bottom of the 10th. And so I come in, I give up a leadoff triple. Right. So, okay, we got a runner on third, nobody out. I mean, home field, like this game's pretty much over. I mean, you got to strike out the sides from here on out. Pena comes busting out of the dugout, and he's all fired up. He's like, all right, guys, come on. I got a good plan. So I'm like, all right, what's your plan? And he says, we're going to walk the next two guys. We're going to load up the bases. Omar Ramirez. Omar, go get your glove. So he goes in, he gets his infielder's glove. They bring in the center fielder. We're going to play 5 infielders. We're going to stack the infield. We're going to get the ground ball. We're going to get the double play, or at least a force at the plate. We're going to cut him down. We're going to win the ball game. He's all excited. He's like laying this whole thing out. So Omar literally has to run in, like they can't find his glove. He's got to go to the clubhouse. Then they get him back out on the field. Now we got to intentionally walk 2 guys. Sure enough, it's a right-hander and a left-hander. So I'm like, I'm throwing 4 balls over here. Then I'm throwing 4 balls over here. So, I mean, this thing takes like 15 minutes to set up. And so everybody's like, let's see what's going to happen. This is going to be great, man. Bases loaded, nobody out. Let's see what's going to happen. Ernie Young's coming up. Ernie Young is like the top hitter in the league. He had a little big league time, I think. But Ernie's like hitting 340 at this point. And I'm like, great. I mean, we walk the bases loaded to get to the league's best hitter. Yeah, terrible plan. So I'm thinking like, all right, I got to come at this guy. Like I gotta, get ahead of him first of all, but it better be a really good fastball. So I'm like, I'm going to rear back and let this first one rip. So I get up there, come set. Everybody's on the edge of the dugout. What's going to happen? I rear back, let this thing go, and I hold on to it a little bit too long. I smoke Ernie Young right in the ribs. Ball game. And I'm coming off the field, and Tony Pena's like still sitting there like he's waiting for something to happen. He's like, no, that can't possibly be it. I'm like, ball game's over. And afterward, he honestly thought, he's like, you did that on purpose, didn't you? I'm like, I didn't do it on purpose. What are you talking about? I'm not going to intentionally lose a game. Look, I knew I had to come with it, and I didn't, and Ernie's even ticked at me. He's like, kind of staring me down, coming off the field. I'm like, bro, I'm not throwing at you. Just had a terrible
we didn't
night.
just take 15 minutes to set that up.
Yeah.
So I could drill you to lose the game.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
but
dude.
Tony was so mad at me for weeks after that. He thought he was going to get manager of the year, resurrect this game out of nothing.
Oh my God, dude. That is so great. That is so great. There's nothing like, go looking back at the minor league days, because we all have stories like that. Like, just like, we're going to do it a little different tonight. You know what I mean? We're going to walk 2 guys, bring 5 guys in the infield, and then we'll just have you, Lonnie, drill the next guy and just end the game. It'll be perfect.
I always tell guys, guys that are going into pro ball, I'm like, nobody needs another book about your big league experience, but write a book about your minor league experience. Like, that's the stuff. I mean, Bull Durham, greatest baseball movie ever, because it's all about the minor leagues.
Yeah, and there's a lot of true stuff in there, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to ask you this, because they just had the anniversary, and somebody wrote an article, I believe it was a baseball-type person, saying that is the most realistic, like, you guys appreciate that. Players appreciate how they treated the minor league system and growing up in there. Is that a fact? Huh?
Yeah, it was true. I mean, I thought Bull Durham was right on, and I love that movie so much. I remember we go in and play the Durham Bulls when I was in A-ball. Andrew Jones, Ron Wright, Wes Helms, just some killers. Yeah. And I would Liney during BP, that bull would be out there, and then be like, hit the bull, win a steak. I'm like, hell yeah, it's just like the movie. And I would ruin my swing trying to go deep. I'm just like, whoa, trying to hit the bull. But it was like such a cool thing. I mean, it's so true. I mean, just as a matter of fact, my son played in a Wood Bat League this summer, and he's like, oh, Dad, we got grinding. We got a 6-hour bus ride, and then we got a 5 hour. I was like, bro, you want to play pro ball? Like, you better get used to that stuff. Right. Like, we remember in the Eastern League, we're like up in Portland, Maine. Next thing you know, we're back in Akron for getting home at like 18-hour bus ride, something ridiculous, getting back and then playing that night. It's insanity. And Liney, you remember I was just talking to my sons the other day. They said one of their coaches came in and dropped a bomb in the back of the bus. Just took a big loaf. They went to Taco Bell. Man. You can't do that. So they were pissed at the coach. Nah. He was trying to pretend like he didn't do it. I'm saying, dude, in the minor leagues, you drop a burger back in the toilet, it's $50 fine, dude. Like, because it's so hot back there. The engine's there. It smells like a porta potty if someone drops a bomb back there, right? I mean, did you guys have the
steamer.
Same deal?
Yeah.
Steamer.
Yeah. The worst was, you're so tired, you got to lay down, you can't sleep, like leaning up against the window, you got a crick in your neck. So I would always crawl underneath the seats, and then somebody's spit cup would dump over, and like you wake up, you got Copenhagen all over the side of you. That's just the worst. So that actually, I learned how to sleep up in the overhead compartment.
On the luggage. Yeah. Did you really?
Oh, I could slide in there, and I mean, literally, you're laying down, and your face is like right up against the wall, but you just close your eyes and pretend you're in another place. Well, boy, don't have a bad dream, and then wake up in the overhead compartment trying to get out.
Dude, I remember. Dude, I didn't know a guy like you could get in the overhead compartment, because I remember there'd be like some small Latino players that, shortstops, they'd be up there in the luggage compartment, and then there'd be guys that would stop at Walmart to get like rafts. You just buy like $2 rafts.
That's right.
And you're like, you had to take a piss at like 4 a.m. and you're like, oh man, I got to actually climb over these seats. There's 6 guys on a raft in the freaking middle of the thing. We got Liney up top, in the MRI machine, poor man's MRI machine, just can't, about to die. And then I'm trying to take a piss, and I get in there, I realize one of the coaches dropped a bomb in there, and I'm like, somebody owes $50 for the steamer they dropped on the bus. This is a crazy bus trip, and it happened every time, right? I mean, and the worst was that your meal money was so little that like you're stopping at Taco Bell and like Golden Corral getting the worst possible meat. I don't even know if it's meat at the Golden Corral, but you're like, and then you know, it's almost impossible not to take the bus ride without somebody having to go somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I still remember being on the bus. We were playing in San Antonio, and we had to drive up to somewhere. Either it must have been Oklahoma City or Tulsa, somewhere up there. But we played the night game, and then we're going to drive all night. And you got to go up I-30. I mean, I'm from Austin, Texas. So, like, we're driving right through my hometown.
Right.
I wake up in the middle of the night. I mean, it's got to be 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I look out the window. I'm seeing signs for El Paso. I was like, wait a minute. Why am I seeing signs for El Paso? So I look. I'm like, was I dreaming that? I wait a little bit. I see I-10 West. I came up to the front. I asked the bussy. I'm like, hey, bussy, where are you at? He goes, we're on I-10. I said, you shouldn't be on I-10. You need to be on I-35 North. We're going to Oklahoma. You're going to New Mexico. Sure enough, man, he's been driving for like 4 hours in the completely wrong direction. So and he wouldn't believe me. I wake up the manager. I'm like, dude, we're going in the wrong direction. We're going to be in El Paso by the time the sun comes up, and we're going to be a long way from Oklahoma.
Oh my! There was no ways back then. There was no ways back then.
No chance. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude, that reminds me. It's so funny. He said, "What I was heading to AA, and a couple other guys. It was like Ross Atkins, Mark Budzinski." I think David Miller, who was a first-round pick back in the day out of Clemson, who was a buddy of ours, and a guy, Danny Peoples.
Oh, Peoples from Round Rock.
Right here, dude. Oh, is he really? Yeah, dude, Peoples. Yeah. So we go out one night, bro. It's like the last day of spring training. We're like, all right, guys, we're going to Tampa. We're going to probably be in Tampa where we shouldn't be, but we were going to go anyhow. So we go to Tampa. We have a good night there. You know, we're having a good time. So we're like, the next day we're breaking camp. And like, all right, they're like, all right, the bus for Kinston, A-Ball is at 8. The bus for Akron is at 9. The bus for Buffalo is at 10. So we're like, all right, we got time. You know, we're going to go to Tampa, have a good time. I think we were an hour and a half away from Winter Haven, Florida, where there was nothing going on in Winter Haven but an Outback Steakhouse that was packed at 4:30 with all the blue heads that were getting the early bird special. You know what I mean? So we're like, all right. Well, let's go to Tampa. So we go, we have a good time. We're getting out of there like around probably too late, but we're like, it's our last day seeing each other. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. So boom, we get in the car, just decide, you know, as soon as I get in the car, I just close my eyes. Danny Peoples is driving. I'm like, all right, here we go. So all of us kind of fall asleep. Next thing you know, Ross Atkins is in the front seat. He wakes up and the sign says, welcome to Georgia. We're like,
oh no.
We're like, Peoples, you went north on 95. You got to go south. So, dude, now we're scrambling. Yeah. Because the Kinston bus leaves at 7. We've driven almost 2 hours north. So, bro, they pull in the parking lot. Freaking bus is running. Everyone's on. Joel Skinner's the manager. Bud and these guys get off the bus. We'll be right down. They run up to their room. You know, just a quick freaking slam the suitcase, throw everything in from spring training, bam, onto the bus. I was like, thank God I'm going to AA. I have an hour to spare. You know what I mean?
Oh, man.
Oh, my God. So crazy. Yeah. So, Lonnie, so you come up through the minor leagues, and you come up with the Giants. You got a little cup of coffee with the Giants, right? But then got traded to the Astros.
Yep. I got traded. I'll tell you about a story about my I had 3 outings in the big leagues with the Giants. The last outing that I had right before I got traded to the Astros, I'm playing in Wrigley Field. I mean, it's like, I don't know about your first experience at Wrigley, but obviously, I mean, that's a spiritual experience. Like, I grew up watching Harry Carey, you know, WGN games, Steve Stone, Ryan Sandberg was one of my favorite players growing up. So I can't wait to get to Wrigley. And I still remember walking out onto the field for the first time. And I honestly did not believe my eyes. I'm like, this isn't Wrigley Field. I mean, I thought the bleachers, I thought they looked like what they do now. Remember back then, there was only like 3 or 4 rows out in left field.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Everything was super tight. And I was like, this looks like a minor league field. This isn't Wrigley. But I got the pitch. So they called me. I third outing in the big leagues ever. I remember Russ Ortiz was starting. He got in a little bit of trouble. He had bases loaded, nobody out. They bring me in, this kid, and the first guy up's Kerry Wood. Kerry was pitching that day. So he comes up. I'm sorry. First guy up was the left fielder, Brant Brown.
Oh, yeah, Brant Brown. He could get swinging a little bit. Yeah.
Well, I get him to fly out to left field like this little lazy fly ball, and so nobody advances. So now I got one out, bases loaded. Yeah, this is going better, by the way, than the Tony Pena story. I already got one out.
Exactly.
So next guy up's Kerry Wood. So I'm thinking, man, this is perfect. Like pitcher, I get a double play ball right here. Right. Sure enough, man. I mean, just like you drew it up. Ground ball right at Jeff Kent. I mean, it's going to be like a 2-hopper. It's going to hit him right in the chest. He's going to shuffle it over to Rich Aurelia. We're going to get 2 out of the inning. Like, I can already see it happening in my mind. Takes the second hop, and it hits right there. The little man in the Wrigley grass pops his head up and shoots that ball up over. I mean, Jeff Kent's literally about to field it right here, and then he does this, and he watches it go over his head. I mean, it must have shot 10 feet in the air. Like it was on a spring. So 2 runs scored. Next guy up's Mark Grace, and here's a guy I've been watching, growing up, and I get totally freaked out in the moment. End up walking him. Sammy Sosa comes up a couple hitters later, hits a double, clears the bases. I mean, it just turns into a circus. And so at the end of the day, like I only got 1 out, and I was like, man, I was this close to getting out of there with no runs scored. So that's just the way baseball goes sometimes. You can do everything that you possibly can do.
Right.
And you just don't get the results,
It is such a hard game because, like you said, you got exactly what you wanted. And next thing you know, you give up a 5 spot. You know what I mean? Like, what the heck just happened? Was Bake your manager? Dusty Baker your manager?
Yeah, Bake was my manager.
Did Bake say anything to you? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was, like, hey, kid, tough luck, But then right after that, so we take the bus up to Milwaukee, and he's calling me up to the room. As soon as we get in, checking our bags, and I get a message from Bake. This is back before they called you on your cell phone. He called me on the hotel phone. He goes, hey, meet me up in my room. And so I'm like, all right, I just got sent down. I know the drill. It's happened like 4 times already. So I walk up there and I'm trying to make it easy on Dusty. I'm like, hey, Dusty, I know, you're sending me down. He's like, well, no, actually you got traded. Like, I traded? Really?
What?
Yeah. I was like, where'd I get traded? He said, the Astros. I was like, the Astros? Heck
yes.
I mean, grew up, rooting for the Astros, Biggio and Bagwell, all those guys. So I was pretty fired up that first time to get traded because it was going to a, hometown team. And it didn't really work out in Houston, but it did in San Diego a little bit later. But it was all part of the process. And
how was that Liney coming in? Like, first off, you're back with Berkman too, who's an absolute beauty. Like, you got any Berkman stories for when you were with him in Houston? Or I used to love Berkey would come to first. He'd hit a bullet to right, and he'd come in and I'd be like, Berkey, how you doing, bro? He's like, I'm struggling, bro. It's just this game is killing me. He'd always just Debbie Downer. I look up at his numbers like 360, 28 bombs, 90 ribbies. I'm like, come on, bro, stop it. He's like, yeah, it's just game's wearing me out. And I'm like, no, it looks like you're wearing everybody else out.
Yeah. Well, man, I mean, him. He's got all the stories. Matter of fact, I mean, I could sit and listen to you guys sit around a campfire and just the two of you guys tell stories. But I mean, he's got like, categories of stories. But probably my favorite category is how he always had a fake injury in his back pocket for when he needed it. Remember? Like he would talk about, one time he forgot how many outs there were. And so he had to real quick fake a hamstring injury because he's running in off the field, or another time. He almost got hit by a pitch. And so he ducked.
That was Remlinger, by Remlinger.
Remlinger, yeah. And I think his CB Buckner was back there, and he said, "No, that ball hit him." And he said, right away, he put his head back down, like I'm going to play this one up.
He's sitting like sort of convulsing on the ground. They're like, he's hurt. Get the trainer out here. Bergman's hurt. And then he said when he got the first in like the suites, you had the replays and they could see it didn't hit him, and everyone's like, standing ovation for him, and everyone's like, boo.
Yeah.
Like,
no, man. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! But also being with like guys like Biggio and Bagwell and Bagwell was that must have been pretty cool, dude. Because I played against them all those years. It was always the Killer Bees, and like then Berkman jumped in there like later. But the Killer Bees were originally Biggio and Bagwell. was that cool for you, all those years rooting for the Astros, and now, bam, you're a teammate with those guys?
Yeah, I would say it was cool. It was super intimidating. I mean, because you're literally coming into a clubhouse you got your childhood heroes in there, and it's like, man, I don't know if I belong in the same uniform as these guys. So, and I really hadn't stuck as a big leaguer at that point. I'm trying to figure it out myself. So I would say, it was a little tough. And you had guys like Moises Alou on that team, Billy Wagner.
You guys were loaded. And then Jeff, oh, dude, and the bullpen, I want to say, was Lidge there yet? So you had Lidge.
Lidge was in the minors.
Okay, yeah.
Dotel,
Lidge, Dotel, Wagner. I kept saying, hey, we got to get the starters. Then I'm looking up, it's like Clemens, Pettit, and Oswald. I'm like, well, it's like these days are, they were loaded back then.
Yeah. It was, and I would say, I don't know if it was like that for you, but when you first come up, it's like, it's such a huge jump from the minor leagues to the big leagues. I mean, college to minor leagues, it's like, all right, I can do this. But as soon as you get under the big lights, I think that's why you see so many guys that are very successful in the minor leagues, but they get to the big lights, and I mean, it just frees up a little bit, or things get a little tight. And baseball's a game that you got to play loose, and it's not easy to do that when you feel overwhelmed or you feel unworthy to the task, or I don't belong in this uniform. So it probably took me until getting to the Padres. That was the best thing for me, is going to a team that really wasn't fighting at that point. Like, we were in last place in the division, and it was, San Diego. Everybody's, coming straight from the beach. They're still in the board shorts. They're going to catch a couple innings. Like, there's not a huge demand for, a team to win games. And so it's like, man, I can just go out here and pitch and just, it's almost like, graduated minor leagues.
Well, Liney, when you go back and look at your numbers in San Diego, you pitched 73 games in 2004 with a 2.14 ERA, 73 games in 2005 with a 1.83 ERA. Then you hit another 73 in 2006. I mean, was Bochy? I feel like Bochy was like, all right, just get Linebrink. Were you up every night, it seemed like?
It was quite a bit, yeah. We had a really good bullpen. I mean, I don't know if you remember Aki Otsuka. He came over from Japan. And, so that the first year I got to San Diego, we were terrible. We were no good. But then the next year is when we went to Petco, first year of the new park. And
you must have loved that, dude. It was so hard to hit it out of there. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, that helped a lot too. But 04 was a good year. We had a good team. But then 05, 06, we won the division both those years. So
wow.
We definitely put something special together there. It was such a privilege to be around guys in the bullpen like Hoffman, like Otsuka. Later on we got Heath Bell. We had Rudy Cianez, Big Sweat. Remember Big Sweat? Dennis Reyes.
Dennis Reyes, dude. I played with Big Sweat in Cincinnati for like 6 years. He was nasty. Guy. He was nasty too.
Yeah. So we just had a really good mix of guys down there, and I feel like it wasn't just one or two guys. I mean, we had so many different pieces that we could plug in and win games. And of course, Peavy was starting.
Wow, dude.
Yeah, we had some good young starters. We got Chris Young later. So
you had two current managers on that team, right?
Yeah, how
Dave
about
Roberts and Nevin in your starting lineup. That's crazy. Did you know either? Did you feel it? I mean, Roberts, did you see? Nevin seems like a little more old school. Did they have the instincts that you thought back then that they would be big league managers now?
Yeah, I probably more so with Roberts. Dave was just, I mean, he's such a personable guy,
such a
people person. Yeah, understands the game, such a servant. He was actually my first interview on my podcast. And
was he really?
I love catching up with him. But he's just, you think of like from a leadership aspect and a CEO type person that just wants to know his players, wants to understand what makes them tick and put them in the best possible situation for success. Like, I think Dave Roberts probably does that as good as anybody, and it's because he truly cares about people.
Yeah, no. On the flip side, I used to love playing first base over there. I'd be like, please let Nevin punch out. Please let Nevin punch out, because the snaps he probably had in the 150 plus years of Major League Baseball, Phil Nevin's snaps were the best. He'd be like, mother F for this and that. Yeah. Then you just hear a trash can just go boom, 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 boom. And it would be like, there was like another batter would fly out, another guy too. It's like, boom, bam, bam. And I'm like, this is unbelievable. This is the best entertainment of the night. It's so great.
I'll say this about Nev too, though. He did have kind of that rough exterior, But that dude honestly cared for people too. He loved being in the clubhouse. He loved everything about it. Both his boys are playing. One of his boys just got drafted. The other one's in the big league. So it's just
with
a
the
baseball
Orioles.
family.
Yeah, man, Nev's a great guy. I love Nev. And like Klesko, Klesko was there too. Like Klesko and Nev were the two big bats in that lineup. Obviously, Tony Gwynn too. Oh, wait, did you play? Obviously, did you play with Tony?
I miss Tony. Yeah.
You just missed Tony.
Yeah.
Okay, you just missed Tony. Okay, but that was pretty fun to watch too, though.
Yeah.
Dude, what about the bullpen? You just named like so many different guys. Like me and Chich were talking before you came on. Like, what goes on in the bullpen? Who were some of the characters you had? What are the shenanigans? Like, you guys are kind of in your own little world out there, like with all the gum and the seeds and the games, and you guys are doing all these. It gets a little weird out there at times. It
gets a little weird. Yeah. There's definitely some shenanigans. So in San Diego, Hoffy was down. He would come down at the beginning of the game. Like that was his deal. He'd always come out for the anthem. He'd just like throw on a jacket and his pants, but he wasn't like fully dressed. But he'd come out, he'd spend an inning or two, and then he'd duck in. He'd go through his whole routine, get his rub down, stretch, get dressed, and then he'd be back out there in the 7th or 8th. And then like it was a totally different Hoffy. So Hoffy in the first 2 innings, like he was the kidder that wanted to, cut up as much as anybody. He showed me a lot of the tricks. But then, man, when he came back in, I mean, it was just like stoic. I mean, you could have set a bomb off next to that guy and he wouldn't have flinched. I mean, he was just so focused on his routine. And Hoffy really taught me as much as anybody just about professionalism, about what to do, what not to do, and about controlling all the aspects of the game that you can control. I mean, you and I know there's so many things that we can't control, but you can control your routine. You can control your concentration, your effort, your attitude, all that stuff. So he was just big on trying to duplicate every single day. And, over 162 games plus spring training plus playoffs. I mean, you get to this time of the year, July and August. It wears you down. Yeah, it's just like, man, I'm just tired of doing all the prep just to get ready. Of course, the older you get, the more you got to do to get ready. But yeah, it was a fun place. You kind of learn a lot about yourself, what makes you tick and what makes you work. And one of the things that I discovered is that I pitched better when I was pissed off. So like if I could come in the game like with my hair on fire, just mad, then I had better focus, I had better intensity. And so I had to figure out how do I get there? Yeah. I'm really not a pissed off person. I mean, I like to cut up and have fun. And so Doug Brocail was in the bullpen. He's like, I got an idea. I said, what's that? He said, after you warm up, right before you go out of the gate, I'm going to slap the crap out of you. I was like, all right, let's try it.
For real?
So sure enough, man, first time, like he's standing right by the gate as I go out and he goes, hey, Liney. And I turn around and he goes, wham. I mean, did not hold back. Like I literally came in with like a red handprint on my face. I'm like, that son of a gun. So yeah, I went in there and just, pitched like my hair was on fire.
Oh my God.
Did really well. And I'm like, well, I guess we got to do it every time. So he started slapping me every time.
He did. And it worked.
It worked. Yeah. It didn't last forever, but I would find ways to channel my anger, focus and intensity. But understanding that I operated better in that environment if I was just really ticked off, Isn't
that crazy? I tell guys all the time, like to my kids, I'm like, find out what's your demeanor. What demeanor do you play best at? Is it relaxed? Is it in between relaxed and angry? Is it angry? And I think sometimes as a pitcher too, you could harness that probably a little better than a hitter.
Yeah.
Could. Whenever I got angry, I usually didn't do too well because I get all amped up. Like, I'm going to get him. And I would be living out front. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't mind taking a slap every once in a while just to maybe see if I should have done that, Liney, see if it would have helped me more. You know what I mean?
I would have got slapped a lot. I mean, that's throughout the game.
Oh my God. Dude, what about Trevor Hoffman? Obviously one of the greatest to ever come out of the bullpen. One of the nastiest change-ups ever. Man, what's funny is he came up as a shortstop with the Cincinnati Reds.
That's right.
And then got traded to San Diego and became a pitcher, which is crazy. What was it about him, Liney? Like, what was it about him that made him so great?
Well, you see, people that are students of the game know that when he first came up, he got traded from the Reds to the Marlins. And
Marlins, that's right. Marlins.
Somewhere in that time, he became a pitcher. he was throwing like low to mid 90s. Like he had a really good arm. And then he went to San Diego. He was still throwing pretty hard. And then like mid career, he has that really devastating injury to his shoulder. And now all of a sudden he's throwing 85. And I mean, even later, like when I knew him, I mean, he was getting on closer to 40. He was like, I mean, his fastball, bro, was 83.
Wow.
And I mean, I watched this guy go out there, and I still remember him so many times throwing 6, 7, 8 pitch innings with, I mean, he had a great changeup. Yeah. But I mean, 83 with a fastball.
Dude, that's
back
scary.
in the
That's got to be scary as a pitcher going out there with 83.
Oh man. I mean, that guy had some cojones going out there, but I mean, it wasn't like he was a nibbler. I mean, he's not picking apart the zone, you know, trying to be just off. Like he's attacking hitters with 83 and making them look silly just because of his ability to locate and change speeds. And, you know, it's not so much, I mean, today's game, I know everybody gets impressed when a guy comes in throwing 103, 104, which you and I both know the gun's juiced. Ain't nobody throwing that hard, but.
Dude, well, no, seriously. I was just saying, like, you go back in the day, the gun's got to be different, you know, and not I don't know. I feel the same way, dude. Not everybody's throwing 99. Like, you know, I think that you get to the guns back in the day. I bet you this gun's a couple miles an hour off, you know.
But regardless, I mean, guys are throwing hard, but it's not just about velocity, it's about changing speeds. And so, you know, if you can throw 99, you got to have an 89 mile an hour changeup, or you got to have something with a little wrinkle in it. You got to be able to locate, like you got to go in and out, up and down. So, you know, just to think that you're going to come in and blow the doors off throwing, you know, center cut fastballs at 100. Right. I mean, these are big league hitters. You know, Don Cooper, my pitching coach, he used to say, man, these guys can time a rocket ship. I mean,
It's true.
You throw a rocket ship and, you know, they're going to get their swing down after the second or third look. So Hoffy could do that. Hoffy could really just, you know, one, pinpoint control, focus. I mean, his focus was just like nobody else's. You know, he used to like work through scenarios in his mind, and he would ask me questions like, hey, if you're in this scenario, what do you think? What are you going to do right here? What's your approach? And I was always afraid I didn't have an answer for him. And sometimes I didn't. I'm like, man, I don't know. I hadn't even thought about that. So, you know, he really more than anybody just encouraged me and you know, wanted me to think, you know, about approach so that when you get in that situation, you're not surprised by it. You know exactly what you're going to do. But yeah,
one of the things I was so impressed about with Hoffy was, I remember we're in San Diego one time. I think it was a Qualcomm Park, packed house. You know, you were probably there at the time, but it was 3-2, 2 outs, bases loaded. And in my mind, I'm like, he's throwing a changeup. Like, I guarantee it's like, I was kind of, and I didn't really strike out a ton. I kind of pride myself on, okay, at least give a battle here. Like, so I'm like, okay, he's going to throw me the changeup. I'm still going to respect the heater, but I'm kind of sit and change. Bro, he throws me 3-2, bases loaded, 2 outs. He throws me the changeup. I'm like, oh yeah, baby. I guess right. Here we go. Bro, I swung and missed by like 8 feet. I still swung and missed so bad. I'm like, he was literally the guy you thought he was pulling the string on you. Like, oh my God, I see it. I guessed right. I don't really strike out. I'm letting it travel, and I didn't let it travel as far as I thought it was. It's like an optical illusion. Trevor Hoffman's changeup was like an optical illusion. That
was the super change. He had the change. He showed you the change, but then he saved the super change for the 3-2 bases loaded. Yeah.
Seriously, bro. Seriously. It was
I watched him one time. I remember, you know, Luis Gonzalez came up. He was with the Diamondbacks at the time. Like, I don't know how many times Luis Gonzalez has faced Hoffy, and he goes up there, and I mean, you could tell he was sitting changeup too. Hoffy throws 3 heaters, 83, just blows him away. I mean, it looked like he was throwing 110.
Are you serious?
Gonzo's missing these pitches by 10 feet. And it's like he's sitting changeup and just 3 fastballs. See you later.
Was there something about his hands that were different? Like, you know, Mariano, everybody throws a cutter, but nobody threw a cutter like Mariano. He throws that changeup. I'm sure you've said, show me the grip, and you've probably picked it up and tried to throw it the same way. What, as a pitcher, what did he do, or was it just genetics in a way his hands were built? What made that the greatest changeup of all time?
I don't know if it was anything genetic, you know, or anything special with his hands. I mean, I know that he choked that thing way back in his palm. He didn't put any pressure on his fingertips. But, you know, it's more, you know, you talk all the time about trust the grip. And so pitchers have to learn how to trust the grip, but more than anything, it's about arm action. And he was just able to duplicate that arm action fastball looked just like changeup. Everything was the same. There was nothing that he was doing to tip it or that hitters could key in on. They see that arm, come through and the ball's just 12 miles an hour slower. And it had depth too. That thing's moving a lot. So like anything, he just perfected it. And I tried to throw it, couldn't throw it, but then I had the split finger. And so, that was something that I developed after, a bunch of different iterations on how to throw that, just practicing, working, figuring out something. It's so minuscule sometimes, these adjustments that we make, and it's like, now we get the result. There it is. And once we feel it, then it's just like, how many times can I put lightning in a bottle?
Right. Well, I love that, because you talk about pitching, I talk about hitting. I say, listen, at the end of the day, the more I hit, someday something's going to show up for me like, oh, there's the feeling. Oh, that's what I was looking for. But if you don't hit, you don't know.
Yeah.
Right. So these guys are like, oh, yeah, I feel good, so I'm not going to hit. I was like, no, make it a routine and a habit to hit every day. Like you're saying, make it a routine every day to throw the split, and you're eventually going to be like, oh, there it is. When it comes off the finger, like, a certain way, it's even better. I was, Liney, with your split, because it was dirty. When you threw it, did you start off with the split grip? Or did you have to change it in the glove? Like, because a lot of times guys with the split as a hitter, I'm looking for guys who are digging.
Yeah, exactly. Mine, and I called it a split, but it was really a forkball. My fingers were literally all the way on the side of the baseball, no thumb. Literally just, wow. I to this day, I can't explain how I threw it. Everybody thought it was a curveball because it came out with forward spin, because it would literally just slip out. But it had to be just the right amount of pressure. And so, it was very much a feel grip. And so I had to get that feel. I had to dig. I had to get it right, and then come set. And I threw the split maybe 10% of the time. So, every time I had to go to that and start with that grip, and then, switch to whatever else I was going to throw.
Wow. That is fascinating. I always wonder, guys that threw the split, do they start with it? And then obviously that's the truth. Mm-hmm. So Lonnie, you have some great years in San Diego, and obviously I think you went to Milwaukee too, just for a cup of coffee.
Yeah,
and
a bad vacation. Yeah.
To that bad vacation. But then you got a nice little deal. You got a nice 4-year deal for some cheese out there with Chicago.
Yeah, went to the White Sox.
We were with the White Sox. Dude, tell us about your stories in Chicago. First off, Jim Thomey's, one of my favorite guys, one of my best buddies. What was it like playing with Jimmy, and how cool was it to see him kind of doing his thing? Were you there for 500?
Yes, I was.
Didn't he had a walk-off for 500? I don't know if it was.
You know what? I don't think I was there for his 500th.
Okay.
But you think about the other guys on that team too, Paul Konerko, Jermaine Dye. Dude. I think both of those guys got 400 the same year, and I got to see both of those. But we had a really good team over there. But Thomey, man, I'd put him down in my top 10 teammates of all time. Just what a peach of a guy. Another guy that just cared about people. And you talk about a Hall of Famer that would literally just come and check on you, sit at your locker for 10 minutes and just, hey, how you doing? Tell me all about, your family and what's going on. Just a great, take guys out for dinner and pick up the tab for 10 people. Just amazing.
Yeah. Genuine. Mm-hmm. What about Ozzie, bro? Cause you played for, Ozzie. What was it like to play for Ozzie Guillen? And you got any good Ozzie Guillen stories looking back?
None that I can tell, I don't think. Let's see. No, Ozzie, it was something new. You say, what was it like? You came to the field every day, not knowing what it was going to be like. It was different every day. But, he was a character. He definitely kept things loose. Very energetic guy, excitable. I remember one time I was pitching, and I had some tough years in Chicago. I had a decent year my first year, but then I had a couple of pretty down years. That was toward the end of my career. And, kind of fell into the back end of the bullpen, and, just kind of pitching mop-up games. And this one game in particular, I was out there and I'd given up a couple of home runs and, going through this tough stretch. And Ozzie comes out there to get me. Well, after you give up a home run, what happens? The umpire steps up in front of the plate, and after the guy crosses the plate, then he gives a ball to the pitcher.
Right.
Well, this is my second home run I've given up. So I'm ticked. I'm like, circling around the back of the mound, just kicking the dirt, mad. Ozzy's already on his way out. Like, I literally think that he crossed the guy coming up the third baseline and gave him high five, and he's coming out to the field to get me. So I haven't even gotten a ball back from the umpire. And so Ozzy's big thing was always, hey, when I come to get you, put the ball in my hand. Don't slam it in my hand. Just, be respectful. And we can talk about this later. So he's walking out there to get the ball from me. Well, I don't have a ball to give him. And so I just kind of like brush past him, and he has his hand out waiting for the ball. And he thinks I'm like showing him up, blowing him off. He's like, hey, where's the ball? And I turned around and I was like, the ball's in the fifth row, right field. Go get it yourself. And, oh man. Later on, we laughed about it. I think everybody was ticked off at the time, but that just goes to show you there's moments on the field where we can lose our cool a little bit, and but we always got to be able to come back and say we're sorry, and
and laugh about it. Yeah. It's in the fifth row. If you want it, go get it. I love it.
That's right. Yeah,
dude. Also, there were some great players in those teams. We had Konerko on a few months ago. Talk about hitting. I mean, this guy. I looked at Konerko's numbers too. I almost feel like he's a borderline Hall of Famer.
I do too.
Some of these other guys will get in. Look at Konerko's numbers; they are impressive. Yeah. You know what I mean? Did you feel like you were playing with a Hall of Famer when you played with him?
Yeah, I mean, that whole clubhouse. I mean, we had a lot of guys, like I say, high caliber players. Konerko was a guy that was just so dedicated to. You talk about a guy that just was rep after rep. I mean, always in the cage, always tinkering. Always really focused in. But boy, I mean, when he got on a tear, when he found it, I mean, he was unstoppable, and it was fun. He was another guy that I just really appreciated his approach and his work ethic, his discipline, his focus. Very focused individual.
Yeah. What about Mark Burley? I know you were talking about that. And, that perfect game that he threw was pretty awesome.
Oh,
what do you remember about that game?
Oh, so by far the coolest moment I have ever had on a baseball field. I've never got to play in the World Series. I'm sure that might have topped this, but I'll tell you what, Sunday day game, me and my dad were just talking about this. My parents happened to be at that game too.
Yes.
And my dad is just a lifelong baseball fan, grew up a Yankees fan. So he was there. He and Mark Burley's dad got to be real good buds. And Mark Burley's dad, it was a Sunday day game. Like any other Sunday, they would have been there. For some reason, they were not there. But Dad was, and Dad got to call Mark's dad after the game and tell him all about it and just relay everything. So it was a real cool moment for him. But I think Dad just brought that up the other day, that it was the anniversary of his perfect game just a few days ago. But man, what a cool, of course, something like that, you kind of know that something's happening in the first 3 innings, like, 9 straight outs. Nobody's saying that, but we're like, man, this game's going pretty quick. You're saying all this in your head because you don't want to jinx it.
Right.
But as the game goes on, it's like, man, it hadn't been a base runner. You're thinking all this in your head again. And so as it gets closer, one, you're thinking no hitter, but then like you're starting to check and has there been any walks? Was there any errors? And, you're looking at the scoreboard, but you don't want to really ask anybody. But
so no one in the bullpen's talking about
nobody's saying anything. And the bullpen in Chicago, like you got it's out in left field, and you can either be up top, where you warm up, but then where everybody sits is underneath, and we're actually looking through the fence. So there's like a little cutout in the outfield fence, and so we're just like in this little cave, and we're peeking out. And so, baseball players superstitious. Nobody wants to move out of their original seat because we're afraid as soon as we move, we're going to jinx something.
Right.
So we get to the ninth inning, and it's a perfect game. First guy up is Gabe Kapler. And they had just put in Dwayne Wise for defensive sub.
Right. I forgot about this. Yes.
So first, maybe not first pitch, but he's Gabe Kapler's first hitter. Gabe Kapler sends a bomb out to left, and like, we're looking through that little hole in the outfield fence, and as soon as it's off the bat, I just drop my head because I'm like, oh man, that ball's gone. And you can hear all the crowd, just like the air is let out of the stadium, and it goes back. Well, all of a sudden we hear something like hit the wall, and it's obviously the outfielder. And then the crowd, I'm getting goosebumps telling it.
Because, oh my gosh, dude.
The fever pitch of the crowd at that moment was like nothing I've ever heard. Everybody just went berserk. And we were like, what just happened? So we all run up to the top to see the replay. And sure enough, I mean, everybody's probably seen it. Dwayne Wise like makes this leaping catch, dives, grabs it, robs the home run. And then he's juggling it on the way down. Like he almost drops it 2 or 3 times and somehow holds onto it and then holds it up and he caught the ball. And we're just like,
gosh,
you gotta be kidding me. He caught that ball. That's amazing. And so then after that, like, I mean, nobody sat down. I mean, the next 2 hitters, it's literally just like, somebody won the World Series with every single pitch. Like, it was so cool. And then that last out goes to Alexi Ramirez, ground ball to shortstop. And, I still remember that call that Hawk made. Alexi!
So great. Both of those calls, the Wise call, it's just having Hawk be part of that too. It's just that was one of the greatest games ever. One of the greatest regular season games ever.
It was so cool, and we come in, and of course everybody's going nuts, and Obama's the president. He's a White Sox fan. He calls the clubhouse, and Burley's on the phone with the president. I mean, it's just like it's a getaway day, and the traveling secretary comes in. He's like, "Bussin' 45." We're like, "Get out of here." We're celebrating.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, dude! Thinking back with what was at stake, that catch by Dwayne Wise, I think it's one of the greatest catches of all time.
Incredible, considering what was on the line.
Right, what was on the line? Oh my gosh, dude! And it was so. I love that you say you had the chills. So, like the crowd at that time, was that one of the most ruckus crowds you've ever heard out there at Comiskey?
Oh yeah, had to be. Yeah. The only one maybe that would have rivaled that was when we played that blackout game. We had that game 163.
Oh yes,
we were tied with the Twins, and we had to play one more game to decide it, and we ended up winning 1-0. Jim Thome hit a home run. And Bobby Jenks came in and shut it down. And everybody in the stadium wore black. And it was crazy.
Right. That's crazy.
Chicago was going nuts. And that game sent us to the playoffs. So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What about I want to talk one more thing about you. Okay. We had talked one time about you and Toby Hall hitting fungos at Wrigley. I want to hear that story.
Yeah. So Toby Hall was our backup catcher, just a hilarious individual. I mean, the kind of guy you need on a team just to keep everybody loose. Like, he was always the guy just, doing some kind of shenanigans, making people laugh. I mean, it's an incredibly stressful game. And so you got to have people with personality just like to cut the tension. And Toby was that guy for us. And we're playing the crosstown rivalry. Sox come over to Wrigley. We're playing the big crosstown series. It's a, like June game, big thunderstorm comes in, threatening to rain it out. No batting practice, tarps on the field. And, batting practice is one of the favorite activities for the Wrigley faithful. They want to go out there and catch home run balls. And I mean, they're half sauced before the game even starts out there.
They just want to drink beers and get balls. Yeah.
Right. And so we're out there, just doing our running, and it's kind of like drizzly raining, but not enough to pull the tarp. And so Toby's out there, and I said, "Hey, Toby," I said, "Hey, man, all these fans are out here, and they don't have any balls to catch because we're not taking BP. Let's hit them some balls." He's like, "Yeah, let's do it." So he starts, I'm tossing him some baseballs, and he's hitting these fly balls into shallow right field right there in the porch. And I mean, as soon as they saw us start doing it, everybody starts going nuts. Yeah, hit another one. So then Toby, he hit several balls, and he's like, "Man, I'm getting tired." I was like, "All right, I'll hit some." So, I'm not as good of a fungo hitter as a backup catcher. So I start hitting these balls, and this one in particular, I remember I threw it out a little bit too far. And so, when you go to reach for it, your swing kind of flattens out, and I swing really hard so I can get to it. And I end up hitting just a bullet line drive. And I'm looking like we're right behind first base, and we're hitting them to right field. So we're not hitting them that far. And I mean, this is just like one of those riding line drives that's headed up for the concourse, like over the fans. And I'm like, oh man, this isn't going to be good. And about that time, I can see this guy walking up on the concourse, and it's like everything slows down and goes into slow motion. This guy's got 2 of the big souvenir cups of beer. I mean, like, he probably just paid $10 each for these beers. He's taking it back to his girlfriend, and he's walking, and the line drives just like, I mean, heading perfectly on course to intersect with him. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm going to kill this guy. And the ball could not more perfectly have hit both of those souvenir cups, and beer just like shoots up like a fountain. And this guy's probably thinking, man, what in the world just happened? Like, all I did was go get a beer, and next thing I know, these things just exploded in my hand. And so I was like, Toby, put the fungo down, put the balls down, let's get out of here. Like, we're going to get sued.
That's so great, dude.
Yeah.
That's probably the best ball you've ever hit. That's your best ball.
By far. Absolutely.
That's so great, dude. That guy's like, you owe me $20, Linebrink.
Yeah, exactly.
You owe me $20.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude. It's so great. You know what's funny, brother? As we wind it down here, we got a couple things before that, but I always like to find out there's so many reasons why we play. I remember my dad used to ask me, like, listen, do you want to play in the big leagues for money and fame, or do you want to play in for service and impact? Right. And I always thought about that. Like, man, I do have a chance to serve people. I do have a chance to, my God-given abilities to go out there and play the game and play it well. And for fans that pay money that come out, to play it hard and to show off my abilities. What was your reason, man? What was your purpose for playing the game? And, what was the reason Scott Linebrink towed the slab every night?
Yeah, what a great question, Case. I appreciate that. I would say early on it was for Scott Linebrink. It was so that I could get to the big leagues, make a bunch of money, be famous. All of those things are appealing to a young, 20, 21, 22-year-old. And I kind of lost my path a little bit in that. I think the pursuit ended up becoming my idol. It was all about me just, chasing the dream, so that I could experience what I had seen so many other guys experience. It was very selfishly motivated. But I really came to a place of just, I'd call it exhaustion, because it was like, man, no matter how hard I work, no matter how many reps I take, no matter how hard I try, it's just not working out. I keep getting sent down. I keep having, bad performances, or this injury popped up at just the wrong time. It's like nothing's clicking for me. And I really just came to a place of surrender. And, I'm a man of faith, and I believe that God directs things in our lives. And I believe that for so long I had been pursuing my own plan, my own path. And I really came to a place where I said, I don't want this to be about me. I want this to be about something bigger. And man, those are wise words by your dad, of living to serve others. And really it just became for me about, what is the plan for my life? I don't want it to be just my plan. And, we call it rabbit's foot Jesus a lot of times. We just want to come up with our plan and say a prayer and hope that God blesses, the plan that we've already come up with in our own mind. But really for me, it just became submission and just saying, hey, I'm going to give my career up, and I'm going to work hard. I'm going to do the things that I can do to the best of my abilities. But in the end, it's not going to be for my glory. It's going to be for the glory of another. And I think that's where things really changed for me. One, it gave me a peace. It gave me a renewed focus about what this was all about. That life is bigger than baseball. It's about things that you can do beyond the game. And I'm still finding that out today. I'm still finding out that there's incredible opportunities that are afforded guys that play Major League Baseball. We have these stories, we have relationships, we have, things that just naturally gravitate us to other people. And so, I want to be somebody that use that for a purpose bigger than myself, and really use that purpose to find meaning. And I believe that, that can be found, and that can be turned around and turned for something good. And, just like what we're doing now with the water, you're doing some amazing stuff with the miracle fields. I've been seeing what you've been posting here recently about, these kids that you're giving a chance to play ball for the first time. I mean, that's the kind of stuff, for me, it was military when I was playing, military appreciation. So, anytime we can use our platform and our position to point to somebody else and not to point to me, that's where true meaning and purpose is found.
Oh, Lonnie, and I like I said, the stuff you're doing with Water Mission, your heart for, your faith and pushing that forward, having a greater purpose. I was saying we travel, we always say, hey, listen, we got the Miracle League field going, but every kid deserves a chance to play, but every kid deserves a chance to travel too. So we said, listen, let's get a bus. Let's call my buddy Kim Nuxall in Cincinnati. Can we play your Miracle League team this weekend of July 22nd? Sure. We went down there, 1,000 people cheering us on off the bus. It was unbelievable. And what I said, Lonnie, is, I think just like you and me, when you think like, what can I do for me? And like that selfishness really never gets you anywhere. Like really, it never feels good at the end. But I say, if you want to do the most selfish thing for yourself, I think the most selfish thing you can do, serve others.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the way the soul works is that you get it back. It's like we were meant to serve each other. We were meant to love each other. So when you start serving other people, and I don't care if it's your kids or your parents or your grandparents or a person you see at the grocery store or Water Mission or the Miracle League or whatever it is, find somebody to serve every day, and man, you will feel something that is how we're meant to feel. So I know you feel that way with Water Mission and the things you do with there, because you can see the impact that you have on those people.
Yeah, absolutely. And just, the everyday opportunities that we get, whether it's, speaking encouragement into a kid's life, being a dad for our kids at home, there's opportunities every day to serve. And I think
every day
when we turn our eyes and focus on that, even just asking, hey, where can I be used today? You'll be surprised what pops up.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Couldn't have said it better. Dude, to end it up, we got two things that we do.
Okay.
We like to play the game, who owned you and who did you own?
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so who owned you, Liney, when you look back?
The umpires. The umpires. Yeah, no, hey, look, to that end, though, let me tell you, I know we talked about this earlier, too. I got a quick umpire story.
Oh, let me hear it.
We talk about losing our cool on the baseball field. Oh, yeah. So I remember this one game where I was having kind of a rough outing, and it was in San Diego, and there was a guy on first. He steals second. The throw goes down to second. It's a bang-bang play. They call him safe. And I get the ball back from the shortstop, and I kind of snap it down. I'm like, man, I can't believe it. Just called him safe. Like, just nothing's going right, So I'm walking, I haven't even started walking back, but I'm like halfway in between the mound and second base. Well, little did I know that, they called timeout. Actually, Boach came out to argue the call at second. So little did I know, while Boach is going out to argue that call, Doug Eddings was behind the plate, and I had already had a few exchanges with Doug that inning about strike calls, and I'm ticked off. He's missing calls, so he's walking out to the mound to have a word with me and tell me to calm down. I didn't even know that. I thought he's still back there behind the catcher. So I'm still facing second base when I get the ball. I don't even want this. There's something wrong with the ball. Let me get another ball. So I turn real quick, and I'm going to fire the ball to the catcher. And I whirl around, and as I'm whirling, I can see Doug Eddings coming over the top of the mound about 20 feet away from me. And for a split second, I was like, I probably should stop, but I was already into my throwing motion. So I just went ahead and let the ball sail. And this thing literally goes right past Eddings' ear.
Oh my god.
And now, you can see his eyes just get like this. And now he's charging out after me. He's like, you threw that ball at me. I said, no, I didn't. What are you talking about? But man,
half-heartedly.
I don't know.
I threw it half-heartedly, Doug.
Yeah, I was throwing it to the catcher. I did not turn around to throw it at an umpire. You just happened to be standing right there. But yeah, I probably could have spiked it in the dirt, but I didn't. So I ended up calling Doug after the game. I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. I was in a bad place right there. I was fired up. He's like, I appreciate you calling. So, but it's the one time I've thrown at an umpire.
Oh my gosh. The one time you threw at an umpire. That's so good. You probably want to throw at him more throughout your career.
Yeah. They did own me though. Yeah. All the umpires owned me. But I would say, a hitter that owned me. Albert Pujols. Good grief. I don't know if I ever got him
he owned
out.
most people. Yeah.
I remember one time I threw a changeup that would have hit him in the chest if he didn't swing at it. And he like steps in the bucket and like somehow keeps his bat flat and hits a ball up in Big Mac land at the old Busch Stadium.
What?
I'm like, how in the world did you hit that ball? Like, you shouldn't have even swung at it in the first place. And anybody in their right mind would have hit a changeup at their chest, about 80 feet foul to the left. But no, somehow he keeps his hands inside and like, yeah. So after that, I was like, I'm not pitching this guy anymore.
He was 5 for 11. 5 for 11.
Gary, 5 for 11? Yeah. Oh, man. I don't know who got him out the other 6 times. Gary Sheffield was another one. I remember Gary Sheffield. I threw him an inside fastball, and he smoked one. It almost hit the guy on deck, like over by the dugout. His line drive. I mean, he pulled it straight behind him. I'm like, man, he's obviously on my fastball. So I'm like, I'm going to throw him something away. So I threw him a ball that was like this high off the ground, about that far off the plate, and he whistles a line drive right past my ear. I'm like, yeah, that guy's good. I'm not gonna pitch to him.
This
anymore.
This is dangerous. Who did you own?
Who did
do
I
you remember?
own?
You're like, oh man, I want to face this guy.
I really didn't have a problem with Ichiro.
Yes, you did not. 3 for 16, Ichiro. That's Ichiro. 3 for 16.
3 for 16. How did you do it, Line? Like, how did you attack? How did you attack? And you punched him out 5 times. How did you attack him? How did you attack Ichiro?
I would get aggressive. He was kind of like Berkman, like you start out in the zone, like don't try to nibble. I mean, just, 4-seam fastballs kind of up under his hands and then, ride up, higher and higher. And he would swing, or splits in the dirt too. He's kind of, I'd get him tied up down and in, swinging over the top. But yeah.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, not many people can say they own Ichiro. I mean, he pretty much owned everybody, but 3 for 16, 5 punches. You're right. Yeah. He didn't strike out a lot either.
No, he didn't. But yeah, and then there was other guys too. You probably had this similar experience with pitchers, but guys that are like career 170 hitters and you can't get them out. So
I'll give you another one to put a feather in your cap here. Todd Helton, 3 for 14. That's Todd Helton.
Okay.
Right there.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. And it seemed like you battled most plate appearances against you ever is Jimmy Rollins. 19 at bats. He had 5 hits, no damage. 1 double. Yeah, that was a good one. And we said nobody ever hit more than 2 home runs in their career against you. We were looking before.
Really?
Yeah. at least in this paper. Yeah, no.
At least that's what we found, Liney. That means you were nasty boys, dude.
I feel like there was a lot of home runs. Well, it just means I spread it out. Like I wanted the 7 and 8 hole hitters to have home runs too.
Yeah, not just 3, 4, 5.
Well, one guy you pretty much did not want to see ever was Jay Payton, who was 3 for 5 with 2 dingers off of you.
Yes, that was the guy. Yeah. He was one of those guys that Jay Payton was a good player. Not like a crazy all-star that you pitch around, but he would be a guy that I would pitch around because I didn't know how to get him out.
That's so funny, dude. I know. I remember everyone says, "Who's the nastiest guy you ever faced?" Like for me, Steve Klein. Remember Kleiner?
Stinky.
Yeah, Stinky. I'm like, Kleiner, the guy hasn't showered in freaking 2 weeks. He's out there throwing me sinker slider. I got no idea what's going on. He's blowing my bat up every time. I can't get a hit.
That's tough though. I mean, lefty on lefty, he was nasty on lefty.
He was nasty, dude. He was nasty. Yeah. And then when the Cardinals, they had Ray King and Steve Klein in the pen. They were the same freaking pitcher. And I'm like, I can't get if he went to the pen in the 7th and 8th to face me, I'm like, I'm in trouble here. I can't hit Ray King or Klein. They're both in the Cardinals pen.
Wow.
God, it's crazy.
Ray King, what a beauty.
Yeah. Do you play with Ray?
I played with him somewhere. I don't know.
Milwaukee?
I don't know which team. Yeah, maybe it was Milwaukee.
Yeah, 07. That's crazy.
Yeah, he would wear that little cut-off half shirt with his little belly hanging out. Like, this guy's a pro athlete right here.
Oh, my God, dude. Unbelievable. Kinger was beauty.
Yeah.
So, the last thing we do, it's called 990. Chinch has 9 fun questions, right? We think they're fun or dumb. And then he asks me, and then you answer. I'll answer first, then you answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Hall of Fame baseball broadcaster Marty Brenneman here. It's time for 9 in 90, the most ridiculous segment in all of sports.
This is fun. All right, first one. Which of these random Olympic sports do you think you would be better at, Sean? Rhythm gymnastics, which is a really good thing, or canoeing, which is an Olympic sport?
I think I'd be better. I have zero rhythm, so I think if I got a shot, it's canoeing.
Yeah, I echo that. Case, you take the back, I'll take the front.
And Liney will be in my canoe.
Nice. All right, ready? You're locked in a room with Baby Shark playing on loop. How many hours could you last in that room before tearing your ears off?
Dude, they just played that the other night at the Johnstown game with my son's team. I could last about 6 minutes, and I would be over.
I think I got a higher tolerance because I have 2 girls, and I put up with a lot of like just continuous loop songs, and I'm like I learned how to drone it out. So I'm gonna say I could outlast Case in that.
Nice.
That's no doubt.
Case, physically strongest player you ever played with?
Adam Dunn. Adam Dunn. What? Matt Holiday?
Matt Holiday.
Oh, that'd be a good fight.
Dude, did you see Holiday's son? Obviously, got drafted #1. Jackson Holiday. Obviously, you know well. But Matt's sitting next to him, and his arms, he's still jacked. His arms are like out to here. Yeah. It's unbelievable how big he is. I remember Dunner one time. Really quick story. Our strength coach Carlo came up the stretch before the game. He was like, "Hey, Dunner." He's like, "Come on, man." He's like, "You're making me look bad. You're not lifting after the games. You're not, you got to get in the weight room." And Dunner didn't like anybody saying stuff to him. Was like, "All right, I'll be in there, Carlo, after the game." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I can't wait to get in the weight room after the game. I'm gonna fly in there, see this, So game ends, boom. I'm in the weight room. And here comes Dunner. And Carlo's in there, our strength coach. Dunner goes, "Hey, Carlo, watch this." He goes over to the to the tricep rack, and racks it. Tricep machine. He racks it. Just starts repping out triceps. I think he did like 30 of them. It's like his triceps wouldn't get tired. I'm like, oh, that's unbelievable. So then he goes over, Liney, and he picks up I think it was like literally 120-pound dumbbells. They had like cobwebs on them. No human picked them up. He goes over, he picks them up. He reps 10 reps out on the bench, picks them up, throws them in the corner. He's like, "Is that good enough, Carlo?" And he walks out of the weight room. He never was asked to lift weights again.
Oh, man. Yeah, he's just country strong.
Country strong, man. Oh, my God.
Nice. Did you answer? Oh, yeah, you said
Holiday. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
oh, great.
Matt Holiday, yeah.
All right. Better 80s movies, Sean, The Breakfast Club or Better Off Dead?
Oh, both great movies, but The Breakfast Club's got to be the best.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Breakfast. I feel like I'm just following Casey, but I mean that truly is what I think.
That's true. Though.
I remember my brother was a teenager at the time, and all he wanted to be was Judd Nelson. And my dad was like, "That guy's the biggest piece of crap in a movie. Why couldn't you pick the wrestler guy?
Be the wrestler."
We're doing that right now, though. We're going around watching all of the old 80s movies. I told my kids, I'm like, you got to watch like Harry and the Hendersons, Back to the Future, Ghostbusters.
Yeah, Karate Kid, dude. My daughter Jillian and I have watched Karate Kid literally 30 times. She's like, "Let's watch it." We just fast forward the parts where you get the crane up.
Yeah. What were we talking about the other day, Case? What was that? Lover Boy? What was that? With
Can't Buy Me Love.
Can't Buy Me Love.
Can't Buy Me Love.
Yeah, with Ronald Miller.
Yeah. McDreamy. All right. Favorite uniform, and I mean like the way it looked and everything. Favorite uniform you ever wore in the big leagues?
Oh,
home, road, anything. Just the colors.
I'd probably say, dude, you know what? Playing for the Red Sox, just wearing the Red Sox uniform, the home Red Sox uniforms, there's something about them. I was like, this is cool.
Nice.
I'm from Texas. I'm a big hunter, so anything anytime we wore a camo.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, you did in San Diego like every week.
Yeah, every Sunday. Yeah,
every Sunday they'd have the troops up there. You guys would. That was cool. It was.
Nice. It was awesome.
Okay, ballpark you hated to go to the most during your career.
Oh, Wrigley. Sorry, I answered
first. A nice windy fly.
Tongue lining.
Yeah.
No, Wrigley was not my. I used to love Wrigley. I'm like, oh man, we got. If the wind's blowing out today, I got at least one homer. I got just hit a pop up to the outfield. I would say the worst one. You know what? Old Candlestick. We would go there. The infield was so bad. The wind was howling like ridiculous knots, and I would guaranteed at least one error a series. I'm like, I'm going to definitely boot one today or botch a pop up.
Yeah, I would say either Wrigley or every single minor league stadium.
All
All of them.
Oh my God.
Nice. All right, 2 more. Sean, if you could change one of these features about yourself, which would it be? Your nose, your ears, or your feet?
I got some bad dogs. I don't know what happened, but like my feet are like just like I take my shoes off. I'm like, whoa, that's a tough break right there. So probably my feet, if they could be a little better looking.
I'm gonna say ears, just because I'm losing my hearing. I can't hear as well, so I figure maybe it's just not the aesthetically pleasing part of the ear, but like actually the function of the ear. If I could make that a little better, that'd be great.
That's good.
Why are you losing your hearing, Lonnie?
Just getting old. I've been shooting guns, you know.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Earplugs. Yeah.
All right. Last one is a show and tell, and I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble for this or not.
Uh-oh.
Describe this picture in one word that was sent to me yesterday. I meant
That's
to
Casey's,
ask Sean.
That's his COVID test.
Yeah, what is that? So for the fans who are listening, not watching, he has 2 Q-tips in his nose and 2 coming out of his ears. What do we got, Casey? I know you sent that to me, and I forgot to ask you what the hell you were doing.
Well, I didn't know you were going to put it on a show, but while you are, we'll just talk about it. I went to this barber shop yesterday, and the girl was tightening me up, and she goes, "Listen, we want to get your ear hair, your nose hair. We just do it with these." So she put it on. She's like, "You're good with that, right?" I was like, "I don't care, whatever." She ripped it off. I wanted to cry, but I decided to like try to man up. I was like, "Oh my God, does that hurt?"
She waxed
all
you?
the nose. Yeah, she waxed my nose hairs and my ear hairs.
Bro, you need your nose hair. That's what filters out all the
keeps
COVID.
the bad stuff.
I know. I got no nose hair right now. That's not good.
Oh no. Yeah.
That's not good.
I'm going to hear from you in like 2 weeks. You're going to have COVID.
No, bro. Lonnie, don't say that. I'm like Sasquatch. I'll grow those back in 2 days, bro. 2 days, I'll have more nose hair than you've had your whole life.
All right, sorry, Sean. That's $9.90 though. I think it was worth it.
Oh, Lonnie, bro, thank you so much for coming on with us, man. We really appreciate it. This has been such a great show, dude, and you are the best. And
Awesome.
Appreciate all you do, man. Appreciate who you are, and looking forward. I'll talk to you here soon, brother. Well, hopefully, if I don't see you in September, hopefully let me know about that water mission thing that you guys got going on. I'm looking forward to being a part of it, man.
Sounds good, bro. I enjoyed being on the show. Appreciate you having me.
All right, Lonnie. Thanks, brother. Talk to you soon, my man.
See ya.
Dude, one of a kind, just a great guy, man. Just a wonderful guy.
Yeah.
Has so many great stories. What he's doing with Water Mission, just everything that, what he stands for, his faith, and just one of my favorite dudes I've ever met.
In
the game.
What I liked about him is like you can tell that he's one of the tougher dudes. Like he's a tough dude. First of all, he's talking about like sleeping in the thing. I looked up. He was like 6'2", 235 when he was sleeping
he's a big dude,
in those things. But you can see, like kind of like Gentle Giant kind of thing. And when he was talking about how he would turn it on, he wanted to be angry on a mound, but you can see how genuinely just sweet and caring of a human being he is. So you can be tough and you can be strong, but you can also be a good person at the same time. You don't have to be one or the other. That's a good lesson that you see out of a guy like that, Yeah,
I like that. All you need is Doug Brocado to slap you in the face every day.
Imagine that. I can't. I think if I even told somebody to slap me in the face, if they slap me hard enough, I would try to fight them. Just generally, like
you
know
totally
what I mean?
would, dude. You totally would, bro.
That's an amazing story. That's a great story. There. He had a ton of great stories, and what he's doing, man, the stuff with the water.
It's incredible, dude. Chinch, what they're doing with Water Mission is incredible. So for all our listeners out there, if you can, go try to watermission.org, I believe, and go try and donate, because your money goes right to helping people out with fresh water in third world countries and also here in the United States too. So pretty cool. But Chinchy, great seeing you, brother. I love you, man. And for all the people out there, thanks for listening to us. If you like us, leave us a review, please. Rank us, download us, do everything, subscribe, all that stuff, because it helps us out a ton. Chinch, I love you, buddy. I'll see you next week.
Love you, buddy. See you.
All right, bye. See you, man.